It's exactly. It's like an interview. See who's failing. Yeah. Right. Welcome, Doctor.
Kia ora. So the first report that I'm presenting is to seek approval for a memorandum of understanding between Council and the New Zealand Transport Agency around the use of the last Kaiapoi Lakes Reserve to be developed as a lizard receptor site for lizards that have been displaced by the Belfast to Pegasus bypass. We went to the community board and discussed this option with the community board. They approved the use of the reserve so long as we had a memorandum outlining the roles and responsibilities of the two parties over the 5 years of the lizard management plan, which governs the movement of the lizards and their care for 5 years. So I'll take the report as read and answer any questions.
Excellent. Who has the first question? Councillor Mellings, thank you.
Thank you. That's quite a comprehensive report, my goodness. Fascinating. So how many lizards would you expect to be able to sustainably support on that 5.4 hectare site? I saw somewhere in the report, and I can't find it now, but it said something about 350 have already been relocated there.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So that's quite, would that not be quite a heavy density?
So the carrying capacity of the site is a function of not just the size of the site, but the quality of the habitat on the site. So we had originally thought that there would be a maximum of around 250 lizards that would be moved there, and they just kept coming, which is how I think the final number was 381. And written into the lizard management plan were a number of contingencies. So if we got over the estimated population size, then we would do more enhancement works in the reserve. So as a result of that, I think another 38 habitat piles, which consist of rock piles or wood piles for the lizards to hide in and find their bugs, have been created. So NZTA have extended the enhancement works further into the reserve.
Great. As a lifelong lover of lizards, I think this is a pretty neat outcome.
So in terms of, so you'd not only have to create habitat, but you'd have to plant things that would actually encourage bugs and that sort of thing to actually be on site so as the lizards could eat them, is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
So there's additional budget from NZTA to actually increase the numbers of lizards on the site?
That's right.
Okay.
So it was written into the lizard management plan. All of the contingencies for if the population found was greater than estimated, which was the situation that we found. And as a result, the habitat piles have been created and the planting has been expanded, which translates operationally to us on the ground. It means that the money that we had set aside for the reserve to enhance the areas outside of the areas that were used as a lizard receptor site have now also been covered by NZTA funding, which is good operationally for us.
So another question, in terms of, one thing I couldn't find in the memorandum of understanding is that the current, or the site that you've identified as being the new location for the lizards, there was no checking to see as to whether or not there were lizards there already, because I was told anecdotally that the work that potentially was done would have disrupted the lizards that were already living there. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so whenever we're putting together lizard management plans, obviously you don't want to displace any populations that are already there. So prior to the lizard management plan being written, Wildlands went out and did a survey to assess the state of if there are any lizards there and give an estimate of the population. And there were lizards there, and so that was factored into the whole of the plan to make sure that the two populations could live quite happily together.
Okay. Excellent. Right. Do we have any further questions? Right. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please, for the recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Mellings is the mover. Yep, thank you. Councillor McLaren is the seconder. Would you like to speak to it?
Just briefly, it's quite a comprehensive report, and the work is already underway, and this is just going to, I suppose, finalize how things will be dealt with in the future. And council actually comes out on the better side of this balance sheet wise, because we're actually getting a contribution towards the enhancement of the lake area. So I can't really see a downside in any of this, and it's actually about time that we finished the plan that was talked about in 1997 in an area that is long overdue for some attention, that has been fairly poorly treated over history. So I look forward to seeing it get underway, and the MOU will help us get there. So happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Mellings. Councillor McLaren.
Good.
If I just can make a comment before the writer reply, is that exceptional report, Dr. Bex. It was fascinating to read the history and some of the. It was just a very, very, very good report. So thank you very much for bringing it to the committee. So thank you. Writer reply? No.
I absolutely concur, and without delving into those issues which you just touched on, yes.
Right, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. So it's carried. Thank you, Doctor. Right. Moving on to 5.2, Biodiversity Fund.
So myself and Hazel will present this report, as Kate Steele has now sadly left council to become a ranger in Riccarton Bush.
Excellent.
So this report is to seek approval for the allocation of funds under Biodiversity Contestable Fund. We had a number of applications in this round, and Kate meticulously went through them and visited the various applicants to assess their projects and how much they were asking for. Finally, we whittled it down to 6, which we are seeking approval for, and another applicant, which we're going to work with more intensely to perhaps get an application into the next round. I'll take any questions.
Cool. Just to explain what's happening is that Deputy Mayor and Councillor Mellings have to go off to another meeting, albeit briefly, so they'll be returning. So, this is no reflection of you, Doctor and Hazel. Right. Who has the first of the questions? Or actually, forgive me, Councillor Doody. Hazel, are you wanting to say anything with regard to?
You've scared her. No, I'm just here to support because I actually got to go out with them. So if you have any questions around this.
Okay, excellent. Right, thank you. Councillor Doody.
Thank you. Interested in the Canterbury grass skink habitat, but how's that going to work? How do they plan to do that? Because the skinks love hiding under rotten on branches and whatever.
Yeah, so the Palmy site is really interesting in that, very similar to the Kaiapoi Lakes, it's got lots of these big rock piles, and it is literally crawling with lizards. And one of the issues that they've got there is predation of the skinks by hedgehogs. Hazel has been involved with that project and has seen cats on a number of occasions as well, which have a taste for lizards often. And so the project here was just to put rabbit-proof fencing around to deter the cats, but mainly to stop the hedgehogs coming through. I'm sorry, Councillor Doody, did that answer your question? I'm not sure that it did.
Yes, no, that's fine. Yeah, I just know how the skinks work, things like that, and how are you going to stop those predators? So.
Yeah, so the
cat side.
no, and the other side of that is The fencing is really a deterrent, and it will work alongside the pest management that they're implementing as well. So Palmu are offering their time to run trap lines through the area so that they can try and capture particularly mice. Mice are incredibly detrimental to lizard populations.
Thank you.
Councillor Fulton, welcome. Are you wanting to speak, Tim? Councillor Fulton, you've got your hand up. Yep, there we go. Not hearing you.
This project, has it? How successful has the establishment of the plants actually been? Some 7, 8 years ago, remember West Etton School plugging away in the early days. So, what have some of the challenges been?
You're okay with the question? Because I'm not sure if we heard the first part of it, Tim.
Yeah. Have you got? How successful has the planting been? The establishment of the existing plants. I assume this is the same site that I'm thinking of, Airwell.
That's right. It is the same site, and I'm delighted to say that every year the school children go back there and plant more plants. But there's been involvement by New Zealand conservation volunteers just to ensure the survival of those plants. They have had some issues with weeds, mainly cocksfoot grass and bramble. But in some instances, bramble has actually favoured the lizards because it's quite prickly and it has really tasty berries. But the planting has been largely successful and continues to be, yeah.
Just secondary to that, I'm aware that neighbouring Tahu farms, for instance, have talked about the aspirational green corridor, as of other neighbouring farmers in that area. Is there any wider management sort of plan to work with neighbouring properties to create and build that corridor using similar properties?
There definitely is a wider project which involves many different stakeholders and different landholders, including Ngāi Tahu, and the Waimakariri Irrigation Limited have also expressed an interest in joining up these corridors to make a more ecologically functional landscape. It's also something which there's another project in council which is looking to do exactly that and to put together a blue-green network across the whole of the district and actually across the whole of the region, so that we don't have small pockets of biodiversity, but we have biodiversity that can wander across the whole district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fulton. Is there any other questions? Right. Who would like to be the mover? Anybody like to move? Thank you, Councillor Doody. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor Doody.
Thank you very much for this report. It's been very interesting. Love nature and what you're trying to do. It's excellent. So good luck.
Thank you, Councillor Doody. Councillor Powell.
Nothing more to add really, other than very, very good report, and good that you're looking at the success of what has happened so far to make sure that that success continues. So, well done.
And certainly a comment from me. It must be fascinating to go out to see all of these places. Is this the total number of, do you actually reject any applications, or is this the total number of applications that you put in each of your reports?
So these are, what you see in this report is the total number of applications that we have received this round. Yep. And there's just the one that's declined, but that's more to do with the applicant needing just a little bit more information around their application to make sure that it fits with the significant natural area that they're looking after. So
you're predicting that they may come back next time?
That's right, yeah.
Right, and are you providing them the advice, are they? Are you?
Yeah.
So to help them through that process. Excellent,
yeah.
Right, thank you. Right, right of reply, Councillor Doody. Would you like? Right. I'll put it to vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, looks like it's carried. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Anne Hazel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving on to applications for the Waimakariri Natural Environment Strategy. And we've got Hazel back again. Right, Hazel.
Hi, so I'm here to present the report seeking approval for the allocation of the Biodiversity Contestable Fund for the Natural Environment Strategy Implementation Fund for Community Organisations. We had 3 applications to the fund this year. One of them we thought could be better supported through the Natural Environment Strategy budgets themselves, and the 2 remaining ones were for operational funding. The Ashley Rakahuri River Care Group for a month of ranger wages, and North Canterbury Community Colleges for partial funding towards their part-time coordinator for their Te Ara Rā Kia Ora urban pocket forest. I'll take the report as read and open for any questions.
Thank you. Doctor, would you like to say anything? No? Okay. Just as a first question, were you imagining that through this fund that you'd be funding wages? Was that the intention? Or, because I was imagining that you were going to be funding projects and planting and that sort of stuff, but it just seems to be a little bit outside of the norm that we're having to pay for wages. Or is this just the state of the difficulty of actually finding money at the moment for these organisations? What's your thoughts on that, please?
So when this fund was discussed and put into place, it was intentional that organisations could apply for operational funding, because a lot of the feedback that we got through our consultation with groups, conservation groups working in the natural environment, was that there's lots of funds that you can go to for capital, for equipment, for traps, for plants, but then there's nobody to actually coordinate the work or to physically put the plants in the ground. And so the operational funding is often the huge gap for these groups. And so we wanted to have a fund that could at least provide a little bit of support to the groups in that way. Yeah.
So really what you're saying is that the funding that we're providing to ComCol and the Ashley Rakahuri River Care Group effectively is reliant upon other funders providing for plants or whatever other work that they're wanting to do. Is that right?
So the Ashley Rakahuri River Care Group, they're asking for funding for a ranger, and that's just to extend it for a month. So if they didn't get the funding, then the extra month would not be covered, which is quite important because it's just at the breeding season for lots of rare birds. For ComCol, they would have to, their funding is for a person to carry out this pocket forest. And their idea is that they will be growing the trees and the plants in-house with young people to actually put into the ground. So if they didn't get the funding for the operational funding for the coordinator, they would have to try and pick at other budgets to try and fill that gap.
Yes, thank you. Would any of the committee members like to ask any questions? That was easy, wasn't it? You let Hazel off the hook. Who would like to be the mover? Mover and seconder? All right, thank you. Councillor Powell, who would like to second it? Thank you. Councillor McLaren? Right. Councillor Powell.
Another good report, so thank you very much for that. It's just amazing what is being done, and I would say thank you, both of you, for the work that you are doing and the work that is being done out in the community through the funding that they're getting. It's just so important, And so we thank you very much. So I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor McLaren.
Yeah, thank you. Really just concur with that, and I'm pleased the question was asked about wages, because that was my understanding as well, is that funds generally through the council don't go to salaries and wages and that sort of thing, but to describe it as an operational expense sits a bit more comfortably for me in this circumstance, and I understand it's a one-off to cover 1 month's activity. So, yeah, very happy to support this motion.
All right, thank you, Councillor McLaren. I would just like to add that, yeah, I thought it was very unusual for us to fund wages, but I also realise that it's extremely difficult to get funding for wages, particularly with the likes of RATA and lotteries and all these others. They'll fund projects, but they won't actually fund wages. So I'm pleased that we've been flexible enough with this funding to actually still see the work being progressed, and by funding wages, that means that we're still going to have plants in the ground. Plants are going to be grown by the likes of Comcoal. So good work. I'm pleased that we're flexible. So thank you for that. Thank you for your report. Would you like to say anything, Councillor Doody?
Yes, thank you. Just that it was really interesting to read this, and I'm so pleased that we're able to do that, because plants are so important, and the more plants you put in the ground, the more vegetation we're going to bring back that's been taken away. And so it's a win-win situation, so thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Powell, right of reply.
No, thanks. I think it's all been said.
All right. Put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those contrary say no, and it's carried. Thank you for that. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Hazel. Right, moving on to 5.4, Welcoming Community Stage 1 Accreditation. Welcome, Tessa. And Amy.
Thank you. You will remember at a recent meeting that Council approved the adoption of the Welcoming Communities Plan as a framework to welcome newcomers to the district, and especially those who are ethnic migrants. This report seeks Community and Recreation Committee approval to apply for Welcoming Communities accreditation. It outlines the accreditation framework that is offered to councils who've joined the Welcoming Communities program, and that is 35 councils from across New Zealand. We would just like to highlight a few things in the recommendations. One, that we have already achieved 4 out of 5 of the criteria for stage 1. The final step is the signing of a statement of commitment by our Mayor, and you will see a copy of that document. It's not terribly onerous, and it comes with benefits from welcoming communities nationally. We also would like to highlight that moving through the further phases of Welcoming Communities accreditation can and will be done through existing community development budgets. Welcoming Communities accreditation will have us operating to a best practice model. It will give us opportunities to link in with what other communities across the country are doing as they develop increasing populations of different ethnicities, opportunities to celebrate, to empower and to connect new migrants into the life of the community. You will see in 4.9 that we have laid out some, 4.9 and 6.1.3, we've laid out some of the costs associated with that. I'd just like to highlight that stage 1 accreditation has no application fee, and while the subsequent stages do have an application fee, that's traded off with some funding initially towards a little bit of project funding and then for professional development. So it's an opportunity for council in terms of getting some money in to do the mahi, but also in creating a status for our district as somewhere that's welcoming to come and settle in, which is very good for district attraction and also for economic development. Saving that, I'll take the report as read and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that. Is there any downsides to applying for accreditation?
Only if you don't like it.
Can you give us an indication as to how much of an increase in funding it would be?
It's not significant.
Okay.
The idea is that we have external funding avenues for larger scale projects. So for instance, if we progress to stage 2, that does come with some reasonable funding. So there's $9,500 for activities, which is very handy. But subsequently, it's really just $2,000 for professional development for the facilitator.
But it would be good idea to have accreditation because it's going to look better for funding applications and that sort of stuff. Is that?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good to hang our hat off with broader applications too.
All right, thank you. Who has the first question? Councillor Powell?
Thank you to you both, and thank you, Amy, for all the work that you have done on the welcoming communities, and thank you, Tessa. So stage 1 is basically done, so that's good, other than us agreeing to go forward with it. How onerous do you think the stages 2, 3 and 4 are?
So the reason we didn't jump into accreditation is that we had understood from other communities that the administration that went with being an accredited community was really onerous. And we didn't want to put an extra burden on staff. We couldn't see the benefit of that. Since then, they have reviewed what that looks like, and we understand that going forward, it's going to be more about telling the stories of the initiatives and the triumphs and challenges that your communities had. So, having spoken to them recently, when representatives from the national organisation came down, I'm really confident that it's manageable now. And in some ways, it's even an opportunity for us to be really mindful of gathering those stories. Because often in community development, you can complete something, and because there's a lot of other things to do, you move on. So I quite like the new accreditation framework.
Did you get any feedback from the MB representatives that came down from Wellington? Was it MB? Is that
MB.
Right? Yep. What sort of feedback did they provide to
you
you?
Mean generally?
Terms,
they very. I'll let Amy speak.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think they had a very clear indication that this is a welcoming community just by the people who were in the room, which included some of our elected members, senior management, and members from the Welcoming Waimakariri Working Group. I think the message came across that this was good ground to have welcoming communities established in. But they particularly, I think that the team had come down for dual purposes, and the national manager for the refugee settlement, he just absolutely loved the Race Unity poster competition and just kept leaning forward and taking photos of that, and just enjoyed being part of the community here. So it was a last-minute visit. They wanted to update a bit about the program, but it was also just for a chance for them to see what it's like on the ground. And I think they walked away very positive, following up, asking for photos and so on. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Right. Well done. Thank you. Any other questions? I'll move from the chair to take the burden off, and Councillor McLaren is going to be second. In terms of talking to the recommendation, I love the idea of being best practice. I think that that's a benchmark that any council should be setting for any of our projects. So being best practice, being accredited sounds like a logical thing to do, and I think it's a wonderful recommendation from the staff that you've brought forward. So thank you for that. and also linking in with other councils and learning from the other 30 plus councils that are already doing the welcoming communities just seems, again, a logical initiative. So again, excellent report, and thank you for bringing it to the table. And I hope that the colleagues will agree to the recommendation and vote in favour of it. Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Well, it'll be a brave committee that voted against the opportunity to give the Mayor to have a small ceremony and signing, which is essentially exactly what this is about. But going much wider, look, I was born in this town, and every census identifies Rangiora as having the greatest population of European descent. Drops by about 1% each census. And so it'd be very easy for us to have quite a myopic view of other cultures. And having been born here, I then went and travelled the world. I've been to, according to an app on my phone, 108 countries that I've travelled extensively in. And I often meet people on the streets, and when we're talking about where they came from, I've been to their villages in some remote place. So have those connections. So to have such a mature, welcoming communities, and the other work that your team does, Tessa, just fills me with such pride and hope for the future and for our district. And yes, that statistic will drop, and probably a lot quicker than it has in the past, looking at the trends with migrants, refugees, and other populations increasing naturally. So well done with this, absolutely support this, and absolutely delighted with the work you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor McLaren. Anybody else like to speak to it? Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor Doody after.
We might as well all have a go.
Just 1, 2, 3 of us.
Exactly, the whole, yes, we're it. Yeah, I would like to say thank you again for the work that has been done on this, and just the commitment, the commitment from Amy and from the supportive team around and the community team to actually get the plan in place, which is wonderful now to see it in place, and now this looking at accreditation to actually formalise this, but as Tessa said, to also actually be able to gather that that information that'll show we are a welcoming community, that evidence, because we have to recognise it is very hard sometimes on the community team to actually, they work hard and they see things, and they work on a lot of projects, but to actually get some formal accreditation for one of the projects is absolutely a really good aim. So I'm very supportive of this. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Doody.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to you both. It's good. I'm just sort of stepping my brain back for when I was in the Huronui and on the council, and we had all this influx of migrants come into the area to work on the dairy farms, and none of them knew. They came from the hot into the freezing cold, and just thinking of Bob Balanis and them, and they came with all summery clothes, and there was no winter clothes, no nothing, no food in their cupboards and things like that, and because the farmers hadn't thought about those type of things, they're here, we got them, we're paying for them, they can sort themselves out. It doesn't work like that. But anyway, that was all behind that. But it makes me laugh at Bob when the farmer said to him, how you going? And he said, oh, I didn't know it was leaving. So that's just classic, isn't it?
Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else like to speak? I think everybody's spoken anyway. Right a reply. I came to Kaiapoi in 2005, and I decided to go to the visitor centre because we bought the house by mistake because we'd never been to Kaiapoi before, and we started to realise as to how welcoming the community was. And then when you look at the history of Kaiapoi, that for hundreds of years it was one of New Zealand's most important trading posts. So everybody would come from all over the South Island and parts of the North Island into Kaiapoi, into this district, and actually trade for food. So we have always been welcoming. It's almost in our DNA. it's in the soil that we walk on. So having now an accreditation or applying for an accreditation to be even more welcoming just seems to be a logical thing to do. And thank you very much for your presentation or the submission. I'll put it now to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Those contrary, please say no. No, that's excellent. Right. Thank you, Tessa. Thank you, Amy. Carried. Right. Moving on to 5.5. Appointing of Community Recreation Member to the Rangiora High School Performing Arts Feasibility Study Working Group. Welcome, Jill.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'll take the report as read, but in summary, at the February meeting, the committee requested that staff bring back this report requesting or seeking appointment of a committee member to work with Rangiora High School as they progress their feasibility study on the proposed performing arts facility.
All right. Jill, are you proposing that the appointee would then come back to this committee and report on what's actually happening, or where would they report to?
Yes, they would report back to this committee.
Okay, right. What sort of, is there any criteria for the appointment? Just, no?
No, it's really at the committee's discretion.
Okay, I've already got somebody that's interested. Councillor McLaren, is there anybody that, oh, would you like a question? Forgive me.
Let's not leave too far.
Councillor McLaren.
Yes. Have you got a sense of what that appointment might look like? I mean, I imagine that it wouldn't be a voting on the committee role, that it would be more of a liaison oversight role. Is that correct?
The indication from this last meeting was that they were seeking someone who would work alongside of the school as they set up a working group or not, and just to keep an ear, you know, to what's proposed, to bring that back to the committee, and really just to provide that liaison.
Cool. Councillor Fulton.
Yes, hello. Interested in this report, and I'll be interested, Jill, in your views on this. You'll know, likes of myself, sit on similar working party groups as elected members. In fact, I must say you've been very helpful in giving me the steer as to what my function in a group like this is. What about the resourcing of elected members, the time and energy that's required, and also the competing community interests that have got? Say if a Rangiora councillor was to be appointed here, you'll have people sort of saying, well, we want our sports centre, we've already got a community centre, you know, like, I don't know who's best to answer this. How does an elected member manage being an elected member, having all these community interests and having to sit there and make objective decisions or make objective input into a working party? You know, you're sort of a bit torn sometimes, aren't you?
I might be able to try and help.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. You sort of see what I'm getting at. You've got, you represent all sorts of aspects of the community, and yeah. So what do you contribute?
I think in this case, it is that connection between understanding what they're doing and what they are doing, how that may then impact on future decisions that council might have to make around facility provision that it has. I think when we had the briefing, it was reasonably clear that the council isn't at the moment looking at building any of its own performing arts centre or expanding the performing arts centre that we have, and so we're not looking at adding any financial contribution towards the feasibility study or any financial contribution towards their facility, regardless of whether it has community using it or not. So it's always good, as the report suggests, to be around the table to be able to hear what it is that they're doing so that we understand how it affects us. But we may have to go back to the school and make it really clear around what our involvement is, and how that intersects with their perception around what our involvement may be in the future. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I suppose it's that clarity, isn't it? So it'll be made quite clear in from the outset. Yeah, not just what the council role is, but what the council's commitment is as it stands. Is it? Yeah.
When we've got our own facilities where we've got a staff member who's going along, a councillor who's going along and sitting on a group where we may not own it, but if that facility wasn't there, we would then own it, and then we would have some level of service obligation to provide it. We actually don't really know whether or not we would need to provide any more at the moment, because we actually haven't done a feasibility study in a long time to work out what the need is for performing arts district-wide. However, we've got a huge amount of competing financially large projects that are in our long-term plan at the moment and are likely to come up in our long-term plan, which we're going to be doing next year. So the indication from elected members at the briefing was that we are not going to be looking at this as the ladder or springboard to propose anything for our long-term plan, but we are more than interested in what the school is doing and how that's going to benefit our wider community and the opportunities that might benefit our wider community. I mean, quite simply, if they build it, that's going to have an effect on some of the people that already use some of our facilities. So what's that going to do in terms of opening up our facilities and allowing them to have more capacity? And what does that do to the groups that we currently have leases with and bookings for? And so that's all useful, but yeah, I think they need to be clear around what our involvement is as well.
Yes. You wanted to...
Thank you.
Another question? Just been answered, right. Any other questions? Councillor Doody?
Thank you. There's only just 3 of us here, and I did wonder if perhaps this should be open to all elected members.
Okay.
If they'd be interested in doing it.
Yep.
It's just a thought. I mean, it's probably still come up to the same person, but I think I would like to see it being offered.
All right. Would you like us to defer this one until we've had, say, the aquatics and libraries? Is that all right?
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, please.
What is the others committee's thought? Is that okay? Yep. Is that okay? That we...
Yeah.
This one.
Is that all right? All right. That's what we'll do. So we'll come back with an appointee at some stage, Jill, but we'll defer the answer or the recommendation until we've heard from aquatics and libraries. All right?
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Right. Thanks, Jill. We'll come back. So, aquatics, Matthew.
Have you been naughty?
Realise my mother was here. Thank you very much for having me. The purpose of this report is to update the Community and Recreation Committee on the activities at the pool in the last few months. So you can see our in 4.1 through to 4.4, our attendance continues to recover after we had the closure for maintenance in January, which is coming back quite well. The numbers in about 1,000 short of where we were last year, so that's good to see. There's an update on our promotional activities. We ran a colouring competition over the Easter time, giving away the prizes for that were all donated by togs and goggle suppliers, so at no cost to council. And then a season wrap up from Oxford Pool, a mixed season, largely due to the changeable weather that we had over the summertime, but a really good success on that last day with 126 dogs turning out to the dog pool party, so good numbers at that. Take the rest of the report as read and happy to take questions.
Thank you, Matt. In terms of the targeted discounts during off-peak hours and those sort of things and introductory pricing of new programs, you've already started these programs, is that how I understand it? Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. From the last report we took, that is approval to continue, yeah.
Fabulous. So you do a overall report about how many people come into the pools and the income. Are you able to break that down into, i.e., targeted discounts? So the introductory pricing, this is how many discounts we gave away, but we got this additional members. Are you able to break it down, or is this too hard? Am I asking too much of you?
I'll start with yes. We'll try our best to break those numbers apart, and it can be a little bit tricky to track every customer, especially if they might have taken a break for some personal reasons or lost their card and come in and bought a new one and things like that. So it can be a little bit tricky to split those out into those two clear categories. We can see overall numbers, absolutely, and a positive trend with that implies a positive trend. However, which is obviously what we're looking to achieve here. But equally, I'll need to probably go away and do a bit more work to see to what level of detail we can break those down.
It'd be really, thank you for that, Matt. It'd be really interesting, particularly the off-peak hours, because I see that being a real value, because otherwise you've got people standing around doing nothing, nobody's in the pool. So if you could actually say, right, well, because of the promotion of off-peak hours, discounts or whatever it is that you've offered, that all of a sudden now you've had an increase in people turning up. If we can measure that, at least that way, I think it shows a good thing that we're measuring something.
I did, to temper your enthusiasm just slightly, I did have some discussions with other managers within the industry. We've got quite a strong network. And so my intention there was to try and, if there's silver bullets around, there's no sense reinventing the wheel, is there? Good. And so tried to reach out and see what worked well in other areas. And part of the warning potentially that I got from some of the other members of the other managers was they're off-peak hours because they are off-peak. People aren't available to come swimming as many people aren't available to go swimming during those times. However, if we're not promoting them, people don't know about them, do they? So I totally accept that there's a line to be found there in making sure we're promoting that awareness of those off-peak hours. Equally, our conversation with our comms team, who are really keen to do some more promotional work. I'm sure you've seen lots of their videos and that on Facebook and other sites. They were talking a lot about the health benefits and growing that regular membership count, which is the ones who are constantly paying an income to be part of our facilities, rather than that little casual here and there, which is small fry for us. So there's some really good ideas there, and keen to push forward with all of those.
I like the idea that you're going out to other pool users and asking questions as to what they're doing and seeing if you can copy. It's no use trying to reinvent the wheel, as you say. It's good on you. In terms of Oxford, is there a minimum standard of number of lifeguards that you have to have in the facility at any one time? And the reason I ask that is that I've heard anecdotally that we were the only ones there, and there were 3 lifeguards standing around, watching us. So are there minimums and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So we always have 2 staff, and the thought behind that being if we need someone to ring an ambulance and someone to be with a patient, those sorts of situations. At times it will go up to 3. However, that's generally during like a crossover period. We need to comply with break times and which is legal legislation around employment and all those sorts of things. So there's a number of factors there, along with all the plant jobs that need to be done, minor maintenance, water testing, cleaning of the filters, cleaning of the facility. All of that's handled by staff. So I invite people to give us feedback if they see staff standing around. Let us know so that we can have a polite conversation with them and remind them of the many tasks that are available to be done within a pool space.
Good answer. Thank you, Matt. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Greenwood?
Good one. Thank you.
Far away, Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Councillor Kins. Generally, in those situations in Oxford, you're doing about 4 jobs at once, so they're probably also running the gym and the St John's and the fire station, while they're guarding the pool. So, but no, more seriously, thanks, Matt. It's really good to hear that you've had improved staffing around that Oxford pool. And is there any reason that you've had some improvements? I ask you this most times you come. Is there anything we can learn from that if there's had an uptick in volunteers and staffing?
I think we were quite lucky this year. We had a very experienced staff member who's, she actually lives in Hornby of all places, but works here in Rangiora normally, and she chose to try something different. Hornby to Oxford is just as far as Hornby to Rangiora is largely, and so she went and positioned herself out there and really hit her straps. It gave her a bit of more enthusiasm for trying something a bit different other than the morning shifts that she normally works here in Rangiora, and that gave her, she has been looking for that opportunity to do a bit more leadership work, and that gave her the opportunity to really stretch her wings in that kind of space and run a small team in a very controlled environment. We're still around. My other facility managers are still contactable and keeping in close touch. So it gave her the opportunity to really grow and develop within that role, and I think that worked really well as a leadership test bed, if you like. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And just if I may, Mr. Chair, View Hill School's going through a refurbishment of its pool. It's part of an anniversary project this year, and it's quite a vibrant community in there, not large obviously, but will there be opportunities for the school to work in and with our public pools in Oxford? And I don't know, do you already share sort of resources and sites? I often wonder how the two will work together.
Absolutely. I'm happy if I can add any assistance to their work or project, absolutely happy to contribute there. Equally, I know we send some tutors out to View Hill. It was View Hill you said, wasn't it? Yeah, View Hill, we send tutors out to View Hill School to teach at the pool as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? There appear none. Who would like to be the mover? Thank you, Councillor Doody. The seconder? All right, I'll second it. Councillor Doody.
Thanks very much. Once again, really good report. Appreciate it. Love hearing what's going on in the pools. And it's lovely to hear that Oxford's doing really well now. It's great. And interesting about the lady we don't need to manage it. Is she going to come back again next term?
I hope so.
Oh, good. Yes, so just thank you very much. And pass it on to your team, please.
As a seconder, I'm impressed with the work that you've done so quickly, Matt, with regard to the promotional activities, and thank you for taking on board our suggestions in terms of being focused on trying to gather more members to the pools, those off-peak times and that sort of thing. So congratulations to you and the team for doing that. And I look forward to seeing more and more promotions of the pools so that they can be more visible, so you can get the comms team out as much as you can to try and get more pool users. So that's really great. So thank you for the work that you've done there and being so quick on the job for getting these changes done. So thank you for that. Anybody else might like to make comment? Okay. Right of reply, Councillor Doody.
No.
All right. All right, I'll put it to vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Right, well, we'll return to Jill. Just to give you heads up, those Councillor Mallings and Deputy Mayor Redmond, 5.5, we are appointing somebody to the Rangiora High School Performing Arts Feasibility Study Working Group. It was suggested by the committee that we should actually have everybody here to actually nominate somebody within the committee to be part of this working group. So we've held off the decision till such time as you're here. Do you have any questions of Jill with regard to the report that she's provided in 5.5? Not putting you on the spot.
You should know.
Yep. Deputy Mayor.
I'm happy to nominate Councillor McLaren in D.
Yep.
And I note the reference in D, and that's why I'm comfortable in doing that.
All right. Excellent. All right, you're going to second that? Excellent. Well, that makes life easy, doesn't it? So anybody else have any nominations or questions of Jill? Everything? Right, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Would you like to speak? You've already spoken to it, really, haven't you, Deputy Mayor? Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Mellings, with regard to your appointment of Councillor McLaren?
Providing that Councillor McLaren is okay with this nod that we are giving him. I think that he would make a fine member of this group. He is a local councillor. It goes in with his community facilities portfolio. He is alumni of this school and its performing arts program, and he's pretty good with all of those things. So I think he is a perfect candidate, should he so wish to be appointed on this working group.
Vote against it.
You can vote against yourself. Indeed. Who else would like to speak? Councillor Doody?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you holding this back until we had a full quorum. That's why we held it back. So, and congratulations on your promotion. I haven't voted on it. No, well, perceived, proposed.
Yeah. Certainly I'll be voting in favour of Councillor McLaren being part of the Community Recreation Committee representative, so best of luck, and understand that there's no money. You're going with no money. All right, so thank you for that. Would you like to have a right of reply, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, just for clarity, I'm happy to move A to D.
Thank you.
With Councillor McLaren on C.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Congratulations. Thank you, Jill, for your report.
Thank you.
Right, we're now moving straight through to libraries update, 5.7. Welcome, Luke.
Kia ora koutou, e hoa mā. It is my pleasure to present our libraries update to April. There's a fair amount of information in here. I'll largely take it as read, but I will draw your attention to a few parts of my report. Firstly, there's some not so pretty graphs. They're fairly utilitarian, but some graphs around attendance, and as we can see that attendance is tracking upwards over time. You'll see that the reliable stats that we have date back to 2024 when we adopted a new people counting solution. Before then, it was a little bit all over the show. We believe that attendance is tracking around sort of 10% a year based on our previous data as well. We're having really large sort of spurts with school holiday periods. The school holiday period that we just had was record attendance for us, with a couple of days that were over sort of 1,200 people. In fact, it hit sort of 1,300 people at Rangi. This is just at Rangiora. And so, you know, in that time slot, we hadn't programmed it heavily. We hadn't had a huge amount of events on. We did a few sort of high quality things, but it's really just that demand, you know, everyone wanting to come spend time with us, particularly in this economic climate as well. We're currently doing a little piece of work just looking at tracking our memberships over time, because what we're finding is that, you know, as people find it harder with cost of living increases, you know, they're coming in increasingly and actually becoming members with us, which is a good challenge to have. It just means that, you know, there are more challenges in terms of the pressure on, particularly on Trevor Inch Memorial Library. So that brings me to my second item, which is our annual survey result, which was really, we had a fantastic response to this year with 842 responses, which was quite a lot higher than the previous year. So it does identify that, you know, people coming in and taking books is still the main reason that people transact with us, but as we suspect, you know, more users engage with public libraries for lots of purposes, including attending our events and programs, you know, lifelong learning programs, learning a new skill, accessing technology, coming in to study, to socialise, spend time with friends, that sort of thing. So overall satisfaction with library services continues to be pretty high. So staff were consistently mentioned for their friendliness, knowledge and contribution to programs, displays and customer service, with an 86% response reporting that staff made them feel welcome, which is was consistent with what I see leading my team. They're a fantastic bunch of people with a really diverse skill set. There was some feedback around our facilities, and so I guess ongoing pressure on the physical on our physical spaces is a recurring issue. So there was some feedback there around seating, noise levels, capacity to accommodate those larger scale events that the community are increasingly expecting of us. There's pressure on our toilets, just the facilities that we have at Trevor Inch Memorial Library are no longer really up to scratch. There's issues with our lighting. If we were to address all of those issues, it's probably around $100,000 for us to switch over to LED lighting with the fluorescent system that we have. Collections aren't able to grow alongside our population growth. So what that means is that we can't actually add more books until we can't physically fit more books into the space until we have a larger facility. So that's also a challenge as well. And we're meeting that in various ways by, weeding collections that aren't working so well and focusing on giving people what they want. And so our lending stats are actually very good considering that. We've also been through a process recently with Hāpai accreditation, where we're going to be the first organisation in the district actually to have that accreditation for to acknowledge our commitment to those with disabilities. And as part of that, they looked at our facilities and looked at the gaps between shelving and can you fit wheelchairs and all that sort of thing. So we're definitely doing the best with the space that we have, and I guess as well, there's also our use of, externally funded opportunities where possible, like the DigiCoach initiative that we're taking part in again, and also, using PACE interns as well to meet that BAU demand. Just very quickly, the pop-up library trial is almost finished. At the time of writing, we had around 620 engagements from that. It's gone out into the community, and they've met with some amazing people out there who have been incredibly receptive to the offering and built some really good partnerships. So we've gone to community events. We're at the AMP show in Oxford the other week. My kids had a great time with that. We've been to schools, aged care facilities. It's just really building those relationships using that platform. I sit on the board of Public Libraries New Zealand, and a number of councils have actually reached out to me on hearing that we've activated a van with it, that's already existing and are interested in sort of hybrid models themselves. I think for us to fund this longer term, we would need to seek some funding as part of LTP. But going forward, there are ways that we could utilise. We could utilise it strategically for events and add it to our calendar without too much of a budget implication. Otherwise, we've got a little bit in there around some programs that we've run recently, including Shamabeel Jacob, economist, coming to talk to us. I guess the standard measure for a lot of these events is, have I seen this person before in our space? And, we've got, more recently when we've run events, we've had people coming and spending time with us that we haven't seen in libraries before. And that particular event, there were 100 odd people there, which was fantastic. I'm conscious I've done a lot of talking, so absolutely happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Is the library becoming so popular that you're struggling to actually accommodate all the programs that you're trying to put in place? Just the sheer size of the library is just not big enough, particularly Trevor Inch, not so much Kaiapoi, but Trevor Inch.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we spread our events and programs out, and increasingly it's about, offering these in communities so people don't have to commute. But given the large size of our community here, the community expects it of us. Yeah. And we're certainly doing our best to meet their needs.
So you talked about the pop-up library was a trial. What was the intent of the trial? What was the end game or the end goal for the pop-up library, please?
Yeah, it was to get out there and meet with outlying communities that might not otherwise easily be able to transact with us. So, as part of that trial, we met people in places like Cust who actually don't have transport. And so we were completing memberships. We were getting people online to sort of, I guess, partly stem the flow is, you know, people can access online resources, and you can see the growth in that in the graph. You know, people are increasingly accessing ebooks and e-audio, and particularly the older community are not that aware of how to do that. So a large part of what we're doing was an awareness piece around what's available to them, getting them value for money for their rates.
Fabulous. Right. Who has a question? Deputy Mayor Redmond first, and then Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Luke, following the earthquakes back in 2010, my office operated in very constrained space conditions. We introduced hot desking or hot seats and extended hours. I just wondered, given the space constraints you're talking about, would extended hours alleviate some of that pressure? And if so, in a perfect world, what would you see that looking like?
Yeah, certainly when we look at our opening hours, particularly compared to other growth councils and some of our neighbours, our hours are particularly restrictive on the weekend. So Sundays we're open 1 to 4. So when you look at our door count, it's even more phenomenal, really, considering that we've got that tight spot. And what it means is that on that first hour, particularly if you come out here at 1 p.m, you know, on a Sunday, there will be people waiting outside the door ready to see us. So there's often 20 or 30 people already backed up, and it's not uncommon for us to, you know, 230 people, you know, within that hour slot at Rangiora. So certainly there are some options, and undertaking a formal review of our hours is something that we have committed to, and the data that we've collected will definitely feed into that.
What time do you close during the week?
During the
week.
At 5 p.m. with late nights at Kaiapoi and Rangiora, where we close at 7 one night a week.
One night.
We activate those slots quite a lot with events and things, but it could be possible that as one potential option is to reduce that late night to say 6 o'clock, and then put that additional hour into the weekend where there's more demand, for example.
Do you see the mobile service as sort of spreading the demand a wee bit as well?
Yeah, I mean, the mobile service is quite limited in what it can provide, so it can't carry a huge amount of books, but we can assist people. We can do story times, and we can do all that sort of engagement piece out of it, but it's not. It doesn't stem the flow in terms of demand on books and other resources.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Powell.
Thanks, Luke. Interested around the Tinker Zone. I know you haven't got long-term information on that because it hasn't been running for that long, but is it tracking upwards the demand for the activities and the machines in the Tinker Zone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, throughout the day, it's generally activated. People are coming in and, you know, doing all sorts of things. I went out the other day and someone had half of their house curtains that they were hemming, and, you know, I was like, okay, this is a bit of a health and safety issue if someone slips on it. But yeah, it's been a bit of it's certainly not a slow build, but it's taken some time for the community to sort of realise that it's there, you know, not having that option before. And we've done things like run sewing classes in partnership with local businesses and things. So yeah, I could definitely provide some stats on it, but it's very, very well utilised.
One other question around the opening hours is, you know, you've got some information from the survey around opening hours, and you've probably had it in previous surveys as well, I'm sure. So is that something that is going to be looked at? I know there's a cost attached here, but is that something that you will be looking at in terms of the opening hours?
Yeah, we've made a commitment to conducting a review of our opening hours, which will happen this year. There'll be a range of options that we'll come back to the committee with as part of that. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
So is that, and that's for the long-term plan? When would that be? Long-term plan. Okay, right. Thank you. Right. Any other questions? Just other question, Matariki, are you doing anything for Matariki? I know it's not part of your report, but I've been talking to a number of groups and they're all talking about planning for events for Matariki. So is the library doing anything specific?
Yes, we always do, and it seems to get bigger and bigger each year. I know Oxford Promotions sent me an email, if that's the one you're referring to.
That's what I was going to do.
Yes, yeah, we're away. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. So maybe if you can next time you can share with the group as to what you're proposing to do, and it's lovely to see that OPAC, Talia, the new chair, is very, very keen. She's only been in the role for 3 weeks, but she's keen to enrol.
Yes,
to
yeah,
my so it's great.
Swiss friend Franzi is involved with it too now, and she sent me a couple of emails too, so they've given me a good rush up. It's good.
That is
I like
great.
it.
Cracker, right. Who would like to be the mover of the recommendation, please?
Who's going to move it? Everybody's looking at each other.
Come on. Righto. Thank you, Councillor Mellings. And Councillor Powell, would you like to speak, Councillor Mellings?
Not much to say, except for the fact is I always love the library reports because it's always wonderful to hear all of the fantastic things that you get up to in the library. I know Brent and I had a lot of fun with the seed sharing workshops, although we didn't make it to the same session, both of us. But, you know, I mean, just the depth and breadth of programs that you've got and the outreach that you have for the district. If somebody says they're not getting value for their money for their rates, they're just not doing it right, because there are so many different things that appeal to so many different people on so many different levels that, just, do you guys stay awake at night thinking of these things, or, well,
Not
clearly
always,
somebody
but,
does, but, you know, keep up the great work and love your work and love all the wild and wonderful ways, in addition to books, that the libraries get utilized. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mellings. Councillor Powell.
I mean, I'd have to agree with Councillor Mellings. I think you do get value for money for the space. And I know space is a premium, particularly in Rangiora Library. So I really appreciate reading what is happening, the engagement that you have with the public, and what they give you back is quite amazing. The feedback that you get, it is so good to hear that. So yeah, looking forward to the next update. Thank you very much to you and the team.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. From my point of view, I was in the library the other day and there were French backpackers doing their curtains, so it might have been the same people, Luke, that we were talking to. I asked, would this occur in a French library, and they says, no way. So obviously we're leading the way in the waimakariri around the world in terms of making curtains. The other thing is I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Mellings was saying with regard to the seeds. It's always been the standard thing of having the seed desk. Everybody would go and open up the lid and see as to whether or not there are any seeds in there, and sometimes you'd be thrilled because there's something new in there. But the new design that Jason has built from laser printing or whatever it is, and he's sign written each one, so you've got Oxford, Kaiapua and Rangiora, that's a really innovative way of displaying the seeds, and the new packet designs, really, really good. So I congratulate Jason on that initiative, and the kids just loved it. We had a group for an hour and a half that just didn't want to go home, making up seeds and taking seeds away. Keep up the good work. Pass on our thanks to your library team in terms of what they're doing for the community, and we certainly understand they're under a lot of pressure in terms of coming up with new ideas, in terms of bringing people in the library, but also understand the restrictions, particularly over in Rangiora, as to the size of the library, and you're always trying to balance the size of event you are wanting to have versus the space that you have available. So keep up the wonderful work that you're doing, and you and your team. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, Councillor Doody.
Thank you. Yes, just to say that I go up to Oxford to do the justice piece, and it's just that 2 hours. It's a sheer joy watching, between people, of course, watching what the children are achieving up there and all their things. And I love looking through the seed box to see what's going on. But it's a real pleasure. It really is in the library. So thank you. They are a real pleasure to be part of.
Anybody else? Councillor Mellings, right of reply.
I should say no, but I'm going to say yes. I love in your report how you succinctly summed it up. Libraries play an important role in challenging economic times by providing free, accessible community spaces where people can connect, share resources, and build practical skills. I think that's a hole-in-one. That's it in a nutshell. From a sustainability point of view and an affordability point of view, libraries where it's at. So thanks for your work.
Thank you. Yeah, much appreciated.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Excellent, carried. Thank you again, Luke. Pass on our thanks to your team.
Yeah, I will pass on the feedback to the team.
Right.
Yeah.
I should have said the same to Matt as well for the pulls. Keep up the good work for the team there too. Right. Portfolio updates. I've already sent through my portfolio update. If there's any questions with regard to the green space, parks, reserves and sports grounds, please let me know. Moving quickly along, 6.2, Councillor McLaren with regard to community facilities.
Well, look, I'm very fortunate that my community facilities portfolio includes libraries, aquatic centres, and excludes the lower profile facilities which are covered by green space. So that only leaves me with a few things to comment on. So, but I will. That's why I didn't move for the last two. The libraries and aquatic, because that comes under this portfolio and I'll be speaking to it anyway, but do just want to again acknowledge the fabulous work that both your teams do, like Matt with the libraries. I try to attend as much as I can, but there's just so much going on, it's just not possible. But I did get out to 3 of the pop-up libraries in the first phase at Pegasus, Woodend, and then up at the Oxford show, and just the levels of engagement, and quite surprised, pleasantly surprised by the communities to have that outreach. I think is a really great initiative, and I really hope that we continue to build on that. I think there's probably some lessons to be learned around the positioning and advertising, so even though it was very well advertised, for example at Pegasus being adjacent to the playground, it was really well a lot of kids and their parents would come over and engage as part of the whole kind of playground experience. Whereas at Woodend, being inside, kind of hidden way at the back of the community centre, even though it was time for school coming out, apart from one banner saying library, there wasn't really anything to direct all of the traffic across there until I went out on the footpath and told everyone, oh, did you know? And suddenly there was a big increase in numbers, but just some lessons that could be learnt there for the future. I do hope that the team continues that. Look, I've enjoyed other events like the Stash Swap over at Road Taniwha was really just
stand back.
Stand back, it was so much fun. The author talks, and like Councillor Doody, I'm also a JP. One of the unfortunate consequences of getting elected onto the councillor side, it's Tuesday in the regular library, so I couldn't, I had to go off the roster because we did just always have council meetings. However, I have found myself on the Kaipoi service desk on Saturdays and soon to join the Oxford roster as well, Councillor Doody. Meanwhile, the aquatic facilities, again, what can I say with that report, is just outstanding, and I'd never attended a doggy pool party before, but it was just hilarious. What was it, 126 dogs with 2 or 3 or 4 humans for every dog. It was just pandemonium, but good-natured. You'd think with all those dogs there'd be fights and chaos and carnage and health and safety issues galore, but I don't believe there's one health and safety report came through for that. So again, well done. Definitely one for the annual calendar. I'll be there next year for it as well. So meanwhile, so it only really leaves just some of those higher profile sites to perhaps mention. Museums, for example. I have another role as the North Canterbury Museums Liaison, and I'll be attending the first meeting in this role on 2nd of May at the Community Centre. So this goes beyond our Waimakariri district, as I understand it.
It does, yes.
Yeah, and I understand that Sally will be there and as well supported by staff, so I'm looking forward to that. Kaipoi Museum, I now attend their monthly committee meetings alongside Community Board Member Russell Heatley and Councillor Keynes. You're transitioning still in there, I understand.
Every now and then.
Yeah, so, and about their only main issue is still this kind of long-standing access to their archives area above their workroom, and just how we can assist with that. So that one's still underway. Rangiora Town Hall is going to be 100 years old this year, so it's absolutely fabulous. I remember coming in as part of a deputation to the Rangiora Borough Council back in the 1970s, asking for some much needed renovations that just to try and make it a bit safer for our musicals. The Rangiora, still the Rangiora Musical Society as such, and saying, look, the fly floor was so rotten that there was a real risk of anyone, teenagers, falling through down onto the stage, and downstairs was just, it was just disgusting. Only one toilet, which was on the stage, just like there in the wings. And the council said no. They said no, there's no way. As things beyond its use by date, it's going to get bulldozed down. So go away. So I was delighted to see it still standing after I got back from overseas. Not only that, the performing arts was invested. So 100-year celebration is planned for 5th of September. So Dale Hartley is this committee that's working on the celebration plans, but it will feature a performance that will recognise those 100 years of use as part of those celebrations on that one day. Pegasus Community Centre. We just went to the roof shut. So great to see that going ahead. It's going to be such a good facility, and quite a model, I think, for going forward for the district in terms of other community centres as we transition away from these specific functions like sports club, a rugby club room or a cricket club room or whatever. We have community centres or community facilities that have a lot more use than just a one-off thing. So that's on track for completion in October. I think that's probably about it. I will mention it's a couple of 100 metres outside our district boundary, but the Balken Hall celebrates its 100th anniversary this weekend, so I've got a whole weekend of celebrations, including an Anzac service on Saturday, and then Sunday will be a bigger day of information.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Councillor McLaren.
You're welcome.
Any questions of Councillor McLaren? Right. Councillor Powell, you've already sent through, so thank you very much for your very informative report. Is there any highlights you'd like to cover?
Don't thank me, thank Tessa. They're very informative updates.
Yeah.
I would like to highlight the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. They were sitting at 31 out of 35, the contracted volume. So we've got to 30th of June to get the other 4. We've got so just incredible work, because the criteria changed slightly. So to get that sort of result is quite amazing. Homelessness, that's just going to be an ongoing piece of work, and I think what is being developed will provide that. And I hate to say it, but the wraparound. Everybody talks about the wraparound. Yeah, but it is around that looking at the whole thing. Welcoming communities we heard from today, which was really amazing. The Access Group, the Access Group held their annual awareness training, and that's for 26 staff and elected members attending, with really good feedback received. And I've been receiving feedback from completely from that time, including a staff member last night who said that how much they had got from the training. And some elected members have also, said the same to me as I've had staff and elected members telling me how good it is. One thing you may not be aware of was that they also did some another training with the Civil Defence Emergency Management volunteers to help them consider around accessibility and how to cater for that in an emergency evacuation situation. So that raised some issues around the suitability of a particular venue in terms of accessibility. So that will be dealt with over time. Food security we saw today, which was fantastic. Some of you may not be aware that the Community Wellbeing North Canterbury Trust, the Chief Executive, has announced her retirement, but with a long notice period, which we're extremely grateful for. So the rec just keeps on happening in the community team, and the job that they are doing is quite amazing and across such a wide range. Often they are not doing the work, but they are supporting others to do the work and providing the expertise just to give a bit of a hand alongside. And whether that's things like with they recently helped do a survey, like actually design the survey that went out to social service agencies. So there's a lot of that going on, and I do enjoy working with the community team, I would have to say.
Thank you, Councillor. In terms of your role within the Access Group, has there ever been a consideration of taking volunteers out to try and get on buses if you've got access issues? Somebody raised it with me the other night.
Yes, it has been, and we tried to get something set up with ECAN probably about 18 months ago, and they had staff turnover, and every time you'd sort of get something when you thought, but there is actually something happening in Christchurch, which I have to, I don't know if I can find it or not, where we have put it out to members if they would like to actually go along. Here it is. It's actually an electric bus, and trying to find the date, 21st of April. That's today. Yeah. So
Missed the bus.
yeah, missed the bus.
Missed the bus,
Literally, and it was this morning, so definitely have missed the bus.
Okay.
So yeah, so at some point it would be really good to be able to get a bus out here. The feedback we got from some people was that they don't know what to do, and they just want to make sure in a non-pressured environment that they can get onto the bus.
Yeah.
How to do the ticketing, the thing, getting to a seat, and everything like that. So it's that non-pressured environment where the driver isn't sitting there ready to take off on a designated bus route. This would just give them time to actually just try it and make sure it would work for them.
Okay, so it's almost more of a marketing exercise from ECAN that they should be front-footing this as opposed to the accessibility group.
And a bit of an education for them around their drivers, because we are still getting complaints about drivers who are not waiting until people are seated before they take off, which is not good for older people and people with mobility issues.
Excellent, righto. Thank you, Councillor Powell. Arts and culture, again, I've already sent through the update from the team with a few added bits and pieces in terms of the Fold Gallery, which is above coffee culture. That's set to close in June, but there's now an education business opened, an arts education business opened in High Street, and they'll be teaching about pottery and sewing and that sort of stuff. So it's Julie Hassel is leading that business. In terms of one thing I failed to mention in terms of the green space was the toilets at next door to Paris for the weekend. So thanks to the green space team, those toilets will be repainted in the colourful colourful way they were a week or so ago. So, but thanks for the green space thing for sorting that out. Right. Any questions? No. Deputy Mayor Philip Redmond, property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Something I've noticed, I have a regular catch up with Chris in terms of this portfolio, but we haven't managed to sync the dates because my catch up is tomorrow. We'll have to look at that. But anyhow, I've got one or two items. The first one was we have declined to investigate some opportunities to purchase property in Kaiapoi recently, which were not strategic. Townsend Road, that's where the minibus trust is. We're looking at a revised approach to dispose of that due to an opportunity to mitigate future flooding risks associated with an adjoining subdivision. And there's a report coming to the May Council meeting about that. As you may recall, the Council has been negotiating, I think, under the Public Works Act to acquire a property in Woodend. Evaluation apparently has been received, which was higher than previously indicated, and a report is coming to the May Council meeting about that as well. For all you food connoisseurs, Subway in Kaiapoi, the building requires earthquake strengthening. The tenant is vacating in June, and although it's nothing to do with us, relocating behind the old BNZ building, the bookshop in Kaiapoi. There's a building being erected in the car park there, which will be the new Subway location. So marketing will soon commence for looking for new tenants for the existing Subway building, which used to be part of the MED, Kaiapoi MED showroom, going back a number of years before it was sort of privatised. There's some forestry harvest coming up in Moderates Road. I'm not sure where that is. Beards Road, Lowburn Domain, Woodend Beach Road, and the corner of Beach Road and Ferry Road, which property administer. And finally, the team had been supporting work with the Blake Street car park project, the Eastern Link and transfer station options, all of which have involved the property team. And of course, there are a whole lot of other small projects which are occurring, but those are some of the main things that have been happening in the property space. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there any questions of the Deputy Mayor? Appears to be none. Right. Councillor Doody, with regard to housing.
Thank you. This report was given to me for the 24th of February 2026, so I may have a little bit of doubt. But I just want to say that this is for housing for the elderly. We've got 90%, 90.18% of occupancy. And the reasons why we don't have the 100 is that Tyler Courts has 5, 6, 7 and 8 currently vacant for refurbishment. There's a lot of refurbishment going on, so that's right. So it's bringing them up to standard and making them a nice, pleasant environment, similar to Wed. Number 10 is scheduled to be tenanted, and we're just waiting on the paperwork for that. And unit number 28 was identified as structural faults from subsidence. So there's a whole lot of things going on. It's not just because they're just empty, it's that there's been work done on them. In Markham Place and Kaiapoi, this one was sustained intensive smoke and fire damage. So that hopefully will be just about finished by now. And then there's a scheduled one at Unit 10, but they've got someone I think that's going to go into their Maya Place.
have two there that require asbestos removal and full refurbishment, so that is going along well as well. Matthew Courts require refurbishment and need to be scheduled for tenancy. And Durham has 100%, Gladstone has 100%, and Renee News has 100%. And of course we've got the Courtney Drive in Kaiapoi, and I haven't quite found out yet, is it in full operation? Sir?
Is that sorry? The Courtney Drive, when will the first people be going into the...
Rob's not here. They're doing their interviewing at the moment.
Yes.
And they've got 9 people who are currently signed up to go in, and they're still completing those interviews. So I'm not sure of the exact date when they'll go in, but it'll be very soon. The units are all completed, and the landscaping's been done as well. I'm just waiting on the final code of compliance certificate to be lodged, and then we can get people in there. But by the end of April, there should be someone in there, and through May, we should get the rest of them.
And that's good. And just the other question. Just the other question is, are they married couples going in, or do we have to?
We had one couple that was on the original wait list, and I think they've signed up. And then we went out to the market, did some advertising, and we had another couple that put their hand up. So we've only got 2 couples that are interested at the moment, and you know, that might reflect the age of people that are coming forward in the stage of life. That we have more singles than we do couples. So 2 at the moment. And the rest of those have been singles, and we have prioritised the couples and then moved to the singles that were already on the existing wait list, and then to the singles that have put their hand up as part of the advertising that we've recently done. Some people obviously don't, they don't want to go to Kaiapoi, so they say I want to be on your wait list, but I only want to be on your wait list for around Euro or Oxford. So the wait list has 40 or 50 people on it, but not all of them want to go to Kaiapoi.
No, but, and also in Durham Street, there's about, what was it, proposed units, about 8 going on there as well.
6 new units.
6
new units will go in Durham Street on the land that we purchased on the right hand side of the entrance.
Yes, so that's great. That's good. So we're really, I just feel we're doing very well for our. But it was interesting. I did just take us to social services waimakariri, and I wish I'd never opened up my mouth, but anyhow. But they were blown away by what council actually provides. But there was one thing that they did want to know was that they wondered if perhaps we should be, and I personally feel this as well, is that we should be looking at the criteria of how much money they're allowed to have in their bank account, because I think it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago that we actually talked about that originally. And so I think probably it's just a thought, that's all, that we look at perhaps the criteria of what is, and they also want to know, was that criteria included with any money that they might have had in their Kiwi Saver? Is that also included in that?
I think it is. We did have that conversation at the Property Portfolio Working Group in the last term, and the main reason why we didn't relook at the criteria is because of the number of people that we currently have that meet the criteria. So we already have 50 people that are on the list that meet the criteria. If we say, well, look, we're going to relax the $10,000 and we're going to make it 20 or 30 or 40, we've already got more people than we have homes to put them in. So if we widen it, we're going to have 100, 200, 300 people that might be on that list, and then it gets really challenging to start to prioritise who's actually going to what units and where. So if we get to a stage where the $10,000 becomes irrelevant, suddenly $10,000 is not worth as much through inflationary changes, and our wait list then goes down because people can't meet that criteria, then I think that's when we would start to have a look at whether that $10,000 was still relevant.
But what also people don't realise is that anyone going in there, they have to have a prepaid insurance for funeral insurance, don't they? Does that still apply?
Not sure about that as a rule.
Oh, okay, right. And the other one is they can have a vehicle as well.
They can have a vehicle. They don't have to have a vehicle, but they can have a vehicle.
And $10,000 in the bank.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's I just think, honestly, I'm just really proud of what's happening in the Waimakariri as far as future housing is, and all these extras coming on, and the Kaiapoi one is fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Doody. Any questions of Councillor appears to be none, so I don't have any questions. No urgent general business. Next meeting will be the 16th of June 2026. So thank you very much for the two